It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Thanks for joining us, folks. You're watching The Sam Lesante Show. We're continue our series with Mayor Jeff Cusat. Let me just tell you, Mayor called me about a month ago and said, Sam, I'd like to have a show each week so I could explain to the residents of Hazleton and surrounding areas real facts. And of course, it's a paid political show, as I mentioned. Some of the things that I think are important facts. And I think these are facts. So I try to check these facts when the mayor gives them to me, and they're all here. Jeff, thanks for coming on the show again.
Thank you.
I know it's difficult to get to knock on every door in Hazleton, and sometimes you do knock on doors that are not there. So the show, as you know, is seen. They could download an app. They could also look on YouTube. If they don't have cable, just search SSP TV. So trying to get the message out for those people. This is the third in series. And so the topic of this show is safety, correct?
Correct.
All right. Now, what we're going to talk about, folks, is because I've had some people ask questions about the mayor. Of 100% of the people that have come to me where they see me, about 85% of them are in agreement. 15% certainly had their opinions. All right. And one of the things a person talked about, they were questioning the status of the crime. So I have in front of me here, and this is the City of Hazleton, PA Safe City Initiative Hotspots Policing, March 1st, 2019, and it's an independent study. They didn't do it, it's an independent study. So let's talk about this study and what's it about. Okay,
well, first I want to say we've been publishing crime stats every January, basically at the state of the city. This year we accumulated that crime stats were down 44%. If you remember, me and the chief came on and we did a whole show explaining where those stats come from, and there was a lot of people questioning them. There's some, squabble out there that these stats are made up and they're not realistic. The chief was here, he explained they come from the FBI database. So if you want to watch that show, or the chief invites people to call him on his personal cell phone, which he gave me the number. He said 570-599-7125, and he'll talk to anybody about that. But when I first met the chief in 2015, right after my election, we sat down and we started talking about things that I wanted to see in Hazleton to make a positive impact. I wanted to move into the 21st century. And I said, Chief, I want to do something where people could use their phones, like text in tips. I want people to see the police cars. He explained to me this Safe City initiative that he did in other places. And to me, it sounded great. So I'm like, okay, we went on and talked about it for weeks. And then he was willing to come in and work with me on initiating this. So these topics are, about the whole safe city. Text for tips, hotspot policing. I mean, everybody's heard him talk about these many things times. All over. Hotspot policing, the oriented policy, the broken window, the CompStat, the park and walk, the prevention through environmental design. So we got into that. This is what we wanted to do, and he's initiated it greatly. The text for tip was one of the things that I worked on when I was on city council. I was trying to work with the Chicago Police Department and the Los Angeles Police Department. They had it, and then when he told me he's done this before, that was really our jump start to working further in depth. And like I said, the hotspot policing, which we're going to go through some of these stats and we'll show you how all these things work. So if you look, I'm going to release this to the media later this week. It just came in, but you'll see that out of the top 10 crimes that were studied, not crimes, top 10 complaints and calls were studied. Assaults, burglaries, drug calls, fights in progress, noise complaints, stolen vehicles, theft, threats, trespassing, and vandalizing. So these were calls, not crimes, they were police calls. So the city of Hazleton has 293 roadways. Less than half of those had one call for service last year. So this study shows that the crime is concentrated. It breaks it down to area, times, days of the week, and what the crimes are. So this is very good. Where this will show that 38% of all calls come from the northwest section of town, which is Vine, Alter, Locust, James, Grant, and Peace. 38% of all the calls come for complaints of those natures in that area. And it'll show that 42% of all the calls occur on Saturdays and Sundays between the hours of 8 p.m. and 12 p.m. 32% of all our calls for those complaints come on between 8 p.m. and 12 p.m. So this is a really good study to show where we need to focus our attention on. And the other areas are, Broad Street, and then Green and Mine. They're the next few, and then East Diamond Avenue. So those are so now this helps us, reassure our thought process of where extra patrols need to be located and where we should be targeting, and it'll help with our scheduling and planning things out. So that's what this report shows, and I will be releasing this later in this week. Then the other one that really got my interest was, my involvement with the parks and playgrounds. Yeah. So crime prevention through environmental design. It kind of takes an area, and if you clean it up, you design that area, just like any other business. You design it to move people to certain areas of the store. So this is where you go in, like we moved like overgrowth, and you put in different kind of shrubs, or you clear out bushes and hedges. So you kind of do environmental changes. We did this on the few little parks on Broad Street. We did it at the 12th Ward. We did it at Altmiller. So there's some things that you see going on. It's not just for cosmetics. It's also for crime prevention. And then one of the best things I ever I thought, back in 2014 I was on council. I wanted to change the street lights. I wanted to make a uniform, bright city that would help deter crime. So thankfully last night, the city council finally gave me approval after 5 years to sign the contract to start changing out the street lights. So within the next 6 months, every street light in the city will be changed to LED. There'll be a brighter uniform white light. So not only are we getting this project for free, after the savings of the electric savings over 10 years pays for itself, years 11 through 20 we're going to be $1 million positive. It's also a crime prevention issue.
When you look at all the stats, okay, so and you're breaking them down. There's a reason for that, for protection of the citizens of Hazleton. Okay, I think that's when Chief was on many times and talked about how effective and why crime is coming down. Now we still have it, but nowhere near what it was. Am I correct in saying that?
The stats show that crime is down 44% on major reportable crimes.
Okay, so the chief has said that, you said it, and plus these are facts, all right? So sometimes people take isolated incidents, all right, and they say, well, what about this particular thing? Okay, so what happens if you take an isolated incident is, that's why I think the chief says, here's my phone number. You give me a call, I'll discuss that with you, okay, if we have a question.
I'm sorry, I'm flipping through these here, but I wanted to, there's some graphs back here, and I want to show you some of the actual, some of the calls.
And remember, folks, this is an independent study. This is, they didn't.
Yes, we got a grant for this. Okay. We've applied for an LSA grant to have this study done. We were awarded the study last year, and we started going through the program. We meet with, there's different stages of it.
So as a result of this, Jeff, okay, this study, there's a lot of, this in turn reflects better safety in the city of Hazleton.
Correct.
Because you now know what's happening with the different areas, and you concentrate on the areas, which is hotspot policing, correct?
Correct. Now, this also shows what those crimes are. That complaints. These are calls, complaints. Some are unfounded. 51% of the calls are for noise complaints. 7% are for fights in progress, 5% for drug calls, 7% for assault, possible assault, threats, theft, stolen vehicles. It's 51% of the call volume is noise complaints.
And that's the thing that I know a few people have called me, and or I've seen, and they've had neighbors that are blasting their music at different times, etc. I mean, nothing wrong with music, but causing problems. And the police did respond to that. Unfortunately, they stop when the cops come there, and then the next day later they're back to the same thing. What's the effectiveness to, whereas, look, we've been here 3 times. We can't continue this. I mean, so there's where I think the chief is pretty strong and diligent with.
Well, a lot of the problem now is that people listen to scanners at home. There's apps on your phone. You could listen in, and you hear when they're coming. The vehicles moving and driving. A lot of the complaints are from vehicles. Cars going up and down the street or parking in front of their home waiting for people with extremely loud music. We get a lot of calls from the car wash areas. But this just goes to show you that 51% of the calls that were studied are noise complaints.
Folks, I'm talking to Mayor Jeff Cusat. It's a series we're having. As the mayor said in the first show, it's very difficult. Sometimes you're not home. He's going to as many homes as possible, all constructive. It's all constructive. It's all facts that you need to do. When we come back, we'll talk about how important Chief Spezialy is to our community, not only to the community, but the not only regional publicity he's been able to gather, but also national publicity, which is great for the city of Hazleton. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. 24/7 SSPTV.com. All the shows are on our website plus our app. My guest is Jeff Cusat, Mayor Jeff Cusat. He has a series of shows each week discussing in detail the facts and how it affects you as a resident. And he alluded in the first half. I'm looking at here our app, and for those of you who would like to get more information, please become educated on anyone who's running for office. Become educated. Forget this nonsense. He's my cousin. She's my this. We're a big family. It's bull. Okay, we're in serious problems because of the same kind of nonsense. Vote for people who are qualified. February the 9th, Chief Spezialy was on the show, and it's on our app. You can listen to the show, and also the mayor prior to him running, prior to this election, and all the shows are here. So that's why I say, learn about the individual. Okay, everyone who's running, learn about them. Jeff happens to invest in time to explain to you what's happening. Let's get back to the chief. We've had many good chiefs, believe me. Okay, and everyone brought something to the table. Spezialy is unique. He's very unique. He's open. He's honest. He tells you the way it is. Here he is. He's giving you a cell number. If anyone doubts what you're saying about these stats, the cell number is 570-599-7125. Here's a guy saying, call me. Now, the question is, how do you and he get along? I know the story, but so people understand that he has said on this show, and he's also said in the standing speaker, he's here if you're here. Okay, that's what he said. Okay, and I think we already know. The entire area knows from Luzerne County on what kind of great chief he is and what he's doing. So, what about your relationship with him?
I think we have a very special relationship. From the first day we met, we really hit it off and wanted to work together. So I really believe that he will stay here as long as I'm here. I think he's committed to me. He's committed to the citizens of Hazleton as long as I'm here, and I continue to work with him to allow him to move the police department in a direction that that we see fit. We do discuss everything that goes on. We discuss the problems, the way we want to go into the future. So we do have a very special relationship. Like, so we did have a lot of good chiefs in the past.
Yes.
But I don't think anybody ever had the relationship on a personal level or even a business relationship that me and this chief have together.
Just to reiterate, going back to those statistics, okay, what we're talking about, this show is on safety, but this report here, Safe City Initiative, which was a grant, Hotspots Policing, March 1st, is an independent survey. Now, when you think about it, 51% of the calls are noise related. Correct?
That's correct.
I mean, so it's like I say, well, you would think if it's crime, it would be 51% more alluded to specific crime. But this is noise related. Not that I'm saying that it's nothing, because believe me, if you live across the street from a person who's blasting their cars all the time, it's very annoying, okay? But that tells you something, doesn't it?
It does. It's, you know, I live on Alter Street in the heart of all of these calls.
Yeah.
My whole family lives on Alter Street in the heart of all this. But now that the weather's getting nicer, the noise complaints will continue. So we have talked about taking a very proactive approach this year on targeting and enforcing those noise complaints. We had a staff meeting last week to really focus on what we want to do for the summer. So now that the weather's getting nicer, there's going to be an increase in noise, activity outside. You know, everybody knows how the ATVs basically terrorize the city in certain areas, flying up and down the streets. But a lot of people don't understand the way to patrol that. You know, we are not allowed to go into full patrol pursuit of one of those vehicles. You know, we could try to pull them over, and if they stop, they stop, like it happened this week. But we are not to, you know, engage a full pursuit.
Jeff, we talk about experience, okay, and having the experience to go into a particular job, okay, no matter what the job is, whether whether it's a lawyer or a doctor or an accountant or anyone, you always want to make sure that the person has the qualifications and the experience. I allude to this all the time. It frustrates me when I hear people say, well, you know, vote for Jeff Cusat because his grandfather was a nice person. Well, your grandfather was a nice person, but are you qualified to do the job, okay? And I'm hearing over and over again, experience, because it affects us no matter what it is. Am I correct? So with the experience that you have, working with the chief, you've been able to accomplish a lot of things. Let's talk about those accomplishments because of your experience.
A lot of these things we talked about in the past, but however, since I've taken office, I have hired 24 police officers, including the chief, which makes it more than half of our active force. So we do have an entire new force. You know, at least half of the force is relatively, you know, 5 years under 5 years of service. So they're focused on the new system of the chief and myself and the direction we're going in. We've placed every vehicle that we've had. You know, I think we've got 19 emergency vehicles at no cost to the property tax general fund. We got new equipment. We've got a lot of new equipment and new technology that we've been utilizing. You know, in each vehicle, we also put in wireless tablets. We put in handheld fingerprint devices. We have processing systems right in the vehicles with printers, so to make it reporting easier. And there's some other little tools that we picked up. We got the truck scales, and we picked up an NRAD, which is an electronic non-radar device, which you'll see more now that the weather's nicer. And that's to really target school zones and safety, speeding. You know, it's a movable radar, it's like a speed detection. You know, because we want the kids to be safe in front of the schools and on little stretches of street road that is high rate of speed. You know, East Diamond Avenue. You get like Lincoln Street down there. Like, there's some streets in town that really have problems with speed. So we got this for the safety of the kids in the school areas. So we're going to be looking more towards that. We were also able to, like, we were able to pick up 2 extra police officers through the COPS grant, which is $600,000 grant, you know, through Congressman Barletta. And now, as you saw last week, I'm working with Congressman Cartwright on getting 3 additional. You know, he was actually on Fox News last week and brought it up that he's working with me, and I'm first in line looking for 3 additional police officers, which would be a $900,000 grant
I always say, when things are being done, what would be the results? So here I am in Hazleton, and I'm listening to you talk about all the safety, etc. What I want to understand is that if I want to sell my property and I want to move to Florida, California, or whatever, I want the person who's buying this property knowing that it's a safe community. Because if you're going to, and even if I was bringing a business in here and my family come up here, I would want to know, what about your city? Is it a safe community, a city, versus any other city? So I think those are the things that individual residents should think about, when we're looking at why this is so important. But not only it protects everybody, but it also helps you with your value in bringing and attracting business. Am I correct in saying that, Jeff?
Property value is on the rise right now, especially
that's a fact. Now, I know that realtors have told me that.
Multi-family homes and large homes that can be converted. There's people moving into Hazleton every day because of the community. We are a safe community.
See, that's the thing that tells the story then.
Yes, we are safe. I mean, nowhere is ever going to be the same as it was 30 years ago. Technology ruined that. Instant gratification has ruined that. If you want things to go back to the 70s and the 80s, give up your technology, give up all your toys, and then things will be, you're not going to get kids sitting on the corner on their bicycles while they have, as long as they have technology. Take that technology and things will go back to the way they were in the 70s. So people, it doesn't matter where you are in the country, things are not going to ever be the same as they were in the 70s and the 80s in that sense.
When you compare Hazleton with a similar city in the United States, all right? And so it's like comparing apples with apples, all right? When you compare that, which we've done over the last 4 years, if you go back 4, 5, 6 years ago and you pick up articles from the Standard Speaker, or if you look at our news on YouTube or whatever, you'll see a number of things that happen, crime, and all of a sudden, as the last 3 to 4 years, we begin to see less and less of that. And that's indicative, I think, of the report. I mean, that's at least from the news part of it. Am I correct?
I believe so. I believe there's been a very positive change in the last 4 years, and I think we're headed in the right direction.
Chief Speziale stated that he will be here if you're here, okay? If you're not here, I don't think he's going to be here, okay? That's what he stated to me. Okay.
I think he made that very clear.
Yeah, and that's, I think, a great tribute to you, Jeff, in working with them and bringing the city where it's at. And here I'm talking facts. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. 24/7 SSPTV.com. All our original programming is there. My guest today is Mayor Jeff Cusat. There's a series of shows which he's paying for just to bring information to you, facts. This report, that is independent report, how can people see the full report?
I will be releasing it to the media this week, and then it'll be posted onto the city website, which is hazletoncity.org. And there's a lot of information on there that's very useful to the city, the citizens. The budgets are on there, the employee contracts are on there. I just uploaded the original government study commission that's on there, because a lot of people have been questioning some of the transparency of the office. So this study was what was studied in 1985, what the people of the city voted on, what they wanted the job descriptions of the mayor and city council to be. So for the first time, that is actually published on the website.
Let me ask you a question, Jeff, okay? And this always gets me. I've been around a long time. When people say it's transparency, okay, it's a good word to say. So at any time, if I was a council person, if I wanted to come to your office and question you on anything, did you ever avoid a councilman? Did you ever not open a door? Did you ever, run around the bushes, etc.?
I'm there all the time. The only Bob Gavio comes to visit me at City Hall.
But I'm trying to say, is there anything that I would say, I want to bring transparency? Because it's a good word to use. It's like he's a nice person or God bless you. I mean, so sometimes it's nonsense. But, when you say transparency, have you ever any time let any councilman not know what's going on?
No, but there's a lot of good buzzwords out there. But
yeah, I know.
Listen, if you go and ask me a question, I may not drop everything I'm doing to get you that information, but I have never withheld any information from anyone. Anything that City Council, the legislative branch of government, is to know or that could be utilized for legislative intent, then it's available. I mean, there's certain things that cannot be released, and that's if you read this, you will see what my job description is, and their job description is. So there's stuff that's not openly discussed because it's not. There's no legislative intent to that content.
I get, and here again, this is the price you pay for putting anyone into any office. Is if they do not have the experience, you pay that price. And look what's happening with our budgets in the school boards. Thank God Dave Pedri has brought our county back on budget because he's working what has to be working. So I think that's important, don't you think?
Absolutely. You gotta have the right person in there to do the job, and not sway from the tough decisions that need to be made.
The shows we've done are on our app, Series 1 and 2. This is Series 3. What are we looking forward to in the next series?
Well, I believe the next show we're going to talk about the finances and the direction of the city, and those types of monetary items. I do want to say this: that tomorrow night, Saturday the 13th, we do have a swearing-in ceremony for the police department. If anybody would be interested in coming, and if anybody has any questions or would like more information, just to go to the mayorcusat.com.
I was going to mention that. mayorcusat.com is all the questions there. Oh, we welcome your questions, folks, and some of you are texting me. And here again, you have a question about any stats and about the safety. Jerry Speziale, who is the chief. Here's my cell number: 570-599-7125. Call me. Jerry said he's not going to be here if the mayor's not here. He made that public, okay? I think that's a tribute to whomever, whether it's you or anybody else, but all the candidates, folks. Learn about them. Know what they're doing. Not because they're nice people. Do have the qualifications. You pay the price when you do just when someone tells you to vote for someone and they don't have the qualifications. You're not doing yourself any justice. Crime is down. People are feeling good. Downtown area is developing rather nicely. We have a lot to go yet, but look where we are now versus 4 years ago. We'll see you next time.